Rushing the timeline on a relationship, even a good one, can have terrible consequences down the line. In fact, relationships with good people that were never really a match for you can be the hardest to leave. If you don't leave, you run the risk of spending your life feeling unfulfilled, not in love, and missing out on the life-expanding and soul-enriching experiences of being with someone with whom you are well-matched. My letter today is from a woman I'll call Tessa, who writes, "Hi Anna, I've been in a 2-year relationship and I've been having such a hard time connecting emotionally to my girlfriend. The weird part is that it wasn't always this way. In the beginning, I felt like it was love. I was always expressive about my emotions and was very happy that I had finally found someone who made me feel this way after having not felt anything for anyone in 5 years, even though I dated and slept with many women." Okay. I'm going to circle a couple things. It's a short letter. I'm going to read it through. I'll come back and talk about some of the things I circled and see if I can help Tessa. Okay. "However, it seemed after she and I moved in together, which I admit was pretty fast, after 5 months, my feelings started to change as I felt something was missing in the relationship. My first complaint to her was that we don't talk enough, even though we did talk. I guess I never felt satisfied with the topics of conversation. Then I started to complain of boredom because we never argue." Interesting. "And then I started to blame it all on her for not having any interest. She basically just goes to work and comes home, and yet with all this said, I still try. Because my girlfriend is so perfect on paper, I noticed a few red flags within myself. I don't understand why I was complaining about a relationship that was so stable. She is loyal and devoted and always tries to understand me when I have these moments of dissatisfaction. Is it me or am I just not that into her?" All right, Tessa. This is a good question. I think it's really common for people, in fairyland here. So let's go through it. You said it's a 2-year relationship and you're not able to connect emotionally. So that's a real quality question because so many of us who were traumatized as kids, we struggle to connect emotionally even under the best of circumstances. But we do this other thing that I saw you do. We rush into relationships. So I know, like a lot of people, they fall in love and they move in, and that's normal. I've done it in the past. But gosh, it costs a lot to do that. Very rarely could you rush into a relationship and it just magically works out. Like, we can all think of such couples. Yeah, they knew right away and it worked. But we're the people with CPTSD. It behooves us to take more time with that exactly because of this. So there were a couple of tells here about how your trauma might have been playing into this. So you thought it was weird that you would lose interest after the first 5 months, but you know what? That's really common. It's really common. The first part of a relationship, it's so exciting, there's all this lust, and living together is another thing. Living together is all the dishes and laundry and grouchy moods, and you can't really compose this persona for another person, and you get to see how they really are too. And so that's one reason why I would recommend that living together without a serious commitment, I just don't recommend it for people with CPTSD. So, I don't tell everybody else what to do. You may not have it as bad as me, but in the end, for me, because I had the attachment wound that I had to rush into these relationships, then I had the abandonment wound that meant that I wouldn't leave. I just wasted a lot of years in relationships I really didn't belong in or want to be in, or that were just outright awful. And I did it, again and again. And the lesson I took from that is not to do that. I did not move in together until I was getting married with my husband. So that solved that. But if that's too tall an order, I would just say 5 months, not enough. Never less than 12 to 18 months. Let's put it that way. I don't think anybody can really make a lucid commitment to another person in less time. So that would be just one yardstick you could use. So then you say, I was so happy that I'd finally found somebody who made me feel this way. So I just want to point out that while you hadn't felt this way in 5 years and feeling that way was exciting and you were happy about it, and I get all of that, it's not a good reason to be with somebody. Moving in with somebody or making a big commitment to them can't just be about how they make you feel. It's really about what you're willing to give them, what you with sober thinking and thoughtfulness and time, that you really can make a logical and wise decision. You know what? Yes, I do want to make a commitment to this person. I spent time getting to know them. I care about them. I want to help them have the happiest life possible. And I just really encourage you to look at relationships not that way, not just what you can get out of it. And this is not for you personal or anything. It's just like for everybody. It's something I learned, that trying to look at it like, oh, great, I'll get the thing that I always was lacking. I'll get the thing I want. Yeah, that's part of it. But the most important thing is, yes, this is a person that I really want to give to. When I got married, and I've been married twice, and the first time was kind of a hasty thing. The second time was the one I called my real marriage. But we gave it a lot of thought. We got a lot of support for making the decision. We did a lot of work to sort of surface, like, what are our concerns about this? How are we different about stuff? And you're not saying you're looking to get married. I don't know if you are. But moving in together is something very much like that, where you want that compatibility, where you have compatibility about common values, about like, who should do what is money for? What are your roles with each other? How crazy is the other person? How willing are you to stand by them when their crazy shows? Are they going to be there for you when your crazy shows? And I say that in the most loving way. I just mean the crazy, that we have as people with CPTSD. Not that we're crazy, but hopefully you know what I mean. So people need to get to know each other, and those are things that only show under stress. Stress shows up from living together. It shows up from taking a road trip together, and then hopefully through dating before you make that big commitment. Because you know what a living together is? Now your financial security is all bound up together. Most people are kind of paycheck to paycheck, and so one reason they get into relationships, I know I did this, was because I couldn't afford not to. One reason I didn't leave relationships was for the same reason. Gosh, I don't wish that situation on anybody. It's rotten. And all that energy I put into relationships that weren't that great, I could have put into having a better financial situation, earning money, doing work that I liked. I did okay in that department, but I was very slow at it. And I see now just how incredibly important it is to be able to support oneself if you can. Not everybody's in a position to. Then you kind of brought your letter to, am I just not into her, or is it me? And I would say I see a little bit of both of that, but the deal killer is I don't think you're that into her. What you described here is that, well, first you were like, we never talk, and you did talk, but it wasn't the kind of talk that nourished your soul. And I agree with you. I think it's so important to have really great conversations with somebody who's going to be your significant other. That's totally important to me. I think there are a few people who have other things that are important. But for you, that's important, and it just sounds like you weren't quite grasping yet. It's not that you don't talk, it's that the talk doesn't have oomph in it. It's not satisfying to you. And not just the topics, but the depth of it, the way that you get each other. Like, a good partner has to get you. That's so important. And then you started to complain of boredom because you never argue. So that was the tell. That's where I'm like, oh, I see you're a person with CPTSD. And arguing is exciting. It can compel you into trauma bondy type, attraction and love. But in the long run, as a person with trauma, I just really, I think you say that with irony. I know you don't really want to be in a traumatic relationship all the time that's full of fighting. On the other hand, a little bit of fighting, a little bit of safe fighting is good for a couple. Like, it surfaces things. It's how you get things out. It's sometimes what it takes to express yourself. And so if that's not happening, that does sound like a certain deadness there. And it's not like you're happy. So, I would predict if you don't responsibly end this relationship, a really common way that people like us end it is by kind of manufacturing fights and problems. It's more doable to leave a relationship when you're all mad and creating drama and anger about something. But actually the more enlightened and better and healthier way to get out is without the fighting, is just to kind of like maturely and calmly go, yeah, this isn't it. So for me, that change came about with the daily practice. I'm divorced. When I got divorced from my first husband, I had been doing these daily practices that I use, this writing and meditation. It's a free link that's always down below in the description section. Would love for everybody watching, come take it. If you take it, you get invited to Zoom calls. It might just be the thing that helps you. I was doing the daily practice. He really wasn't into it, and then he started doing it. And the day that he got into it, I remember he came home from learning meditation. He had already learned how to do the writing. He learned from people, not me. And he came in and he was just like shining like a star. He was so shiny. And I was like, wow. And he goes, yeah, I realize we can't be married anymore. And it was true, and I knew it. I wasn't ready for it at that time. But that's the daily practice kind of just helped bring the truth out, helped the truth be just like so present you couldn't deny it anymore. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. And we were able to just kind of like, after so much fighting and having difficulty in a marriage, we were able to go, yeah, that's what's happening. And it wasn't easy, and there were still some fights to have. But I'm really glad, like, it's so much better if you can end a relationship through, like, it's just not right, rather than needing to go wreck it because you love the drama or because the drama makes you feel like you're excused, like it's okay to leave. I don't know. You don't sound codependent. You haven't said anything here. You're just trying to figure this out. So your girlfriend is loyal, devoted. She always tries to understand. And that's what's so hard. She sounds great. She's just not the one for you. That's all. And you'll know because it will be exciting. It will be exciting to meet somebody. Now, if it's been 5 years since you felt that way about somebody and you kind of went dead here, here's the part. It does not sound like this is working for you, so I'm assuming it will end. You can work on yourself. You can work on liberating your strong feelings, your passion, your love. You can liberate it. I'm going to guess that something happened to you where people were untrustworthy, maybe they were abusive or blamey. That's the kind of thing that can get people very shut down in the heart. And it's hard to come out. And sometimes there needs to be a lot of peace around you to let that start to flourish and register on your radar. And then a lot of the other thoughts, the blamey thoughts, the fearful, the world is against me, I don't know, I'm just projecting. Those are sorts of things that got in my way. When more of that was healed and released through my daily practice, then my natural feelings started to come back. I started to have much better discernment. And what was so important is who I was attracted to changed dramatically. And it stopped being these troubled people who, I don't know, unconsciously, I guess I thought they would put up with me or not criticize me. I started to have room to be attracted to like formidable people. And that's how I ended up with who I'm with now. And I'm so glad I made that change. It's making that change before you get into a relationship means maybe you can bypass ever having this big like energy. It's such a loss of energy to get into a relationship that's no good, that's not working, and to have to leave. That's something to heal from. We all learn by trial and error, so it's not terrible. It's okay. But you can go slower. You can be truer to yourself. And I get a lot of letters. I learn a lot from people, and I just see the one thing that really pushes people into bad relationships fast is just having a life that's not giving them joy as is. So the one thing everybody can do in a relationship, out of relationship, is really get that joy in your life. Do things that are meaningful, that make you feel like you're really contributing, that are fun. And yeah, you don't want to be with somebody who just goes to work and comes home. And that sounds, yeah, I couldn't live that way either. And but it's really good that some people do. And I bet she has all kinds of layers of depth to her, but it's not visible to you because you're not the one. That's what I would guess. Everybody actually is, has all kinds of colors and depth to them. So it's just not always right. What are the odds that lightning is going to strike? So I hope that helps, Tessa. Good luck. If you're resonating with Tessa's story here and you also have had that experience of being really into somebody and then it just all goes flat, that's a common thing. One video I have that you might want to watch is one I call The Wrong Life, about a woman who couldn't feel it when she had the chance and then was pining away. That video is right here, and I will see you very soon.